So, we can see here there were other researches which were being taken up by other people have shown that really viceroy butterflies used to copy monarch, but the reason was not that which was being there in this theory. Okay. So, the reason must be something else which is not been mentioned. Okay. So, this project was placed first in the geology division and third overall in the county science fair. So, this experiment made him to win the first prize. He was being declared winner in the geology department of that science fair, and he was being ranked third in the complete fair. So, this was a very accomplishing project of Ebright. In his second year in high school, Richard Ebright began the research that led to his discovery of an unknown insect hormone. Indirectly, it also led to his new theory on the life of cells. So, now when he was in his second year in his high school, he started with a new research project which was based on which finally led him towards the discovery of an insect hormone. Okay. So, when this theory was the background and the base work for his theory of that how the life cells actually are being produced. So, that theory was being based here on this discovery of his insect hormone. Okay. Now, the questions he tried to answer was simple, and what was that question with which he started his project was, what is the purpose of the 12 tiny gold spots on a monarch pupa? Now, you understand it is the third stage of butterfly's life cycle, and when that caterpillar used to get inside that pupa, it used to cover, on that pupa of monarch butterfly there used to be 12 golden spots, and the purpose of that golden spots were being considered to be an ornamental purpose. Okay. Normally people used to consider that those golden spots were for enhancing the beauty of that pupa, but Dr. Frederick, he did not have the same opinion. So, in that case, Ebright also started working to find the answer to this question, that what is the purpose of having those golden spots on that pupa of monarch butterfly. Okay. So, everyone see here, everyone assumed the spots were just ornamental, that means only for the sake of enhancing the beauty. Ebright said, but Dr. Urquhart did not believe it. So, on that very aspect, Dr. Urquhart, he had a different opinion. Okay. To find the answer, Ebright and another excellent science student first had to build a device that showed that the spots were producing a hormone necessary for the butterfly's full development. So, they started exploring that what is that golden spots which were there on the pupa were responsible for, and for that reason they wanted to have a device with which they can identify that they are producing a hormone which is responsible for the development of overall development of butterflies. Okay. This project won Ebright first place in the county fair and entry into the International Science and Engineering Fair. So, here this project was being highly acclaimed in that science fair, in that county fair. He won the first prize and he was able to represent into the International Science and Engineering Fair also. So, there he won third place for geology. Now, he also got a chance to work during the summer at the entomology laboratory of the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research. Now, when he won the third position, with that he also got an opportunity to take up his research further in the laboratories of Walter Reed Army Institute of Research. So, this was a very nice opportunity which he got, so that he can pursue his research in a advanced lab over there. Okay. As a high school junior, Richard Albright continued his advanced experiments on monarch pupa. That year his project won first place in the International Science Fair and gave him another chance to work in the army laboratory during the summer. So, he continued with the same project, and next year he was being his results, and his project won the first prize in the international fair, and also he got another chance to work in the army laboratory. Okay. In his senior year, he went a step further. He grew cells from a monarch's wing in a culture and showed that the cells would divide and develop into normal butterfly wing scales only if they were fed the hormone from the gold spots. Now, in his next level in that same project, what he did, he took out few cells from the monarch butterfly wings, and then he made them to be developed. Those cells were developed separately in a laboratory, in a culture, where he showed this, that when those cells were being cultured in the presence of that hormone which was produced by those gold spots, then only the proper development of those cell happened. Okay. That project won first place for zoology at the international fair. So, again he won the first prize in the international fair. He spent the summer after graduation doing further work at the army laboratory and at the laboratory of US Department of Agriculture. So, further he kept on working after his graduation. He further took his work in army laboratory as well as in the laboratory of US Department of Agriculture. Now, following the summer after his freshman year at Harvard University, Albright went back to the laboratory of Department of Agriculture and did more work on the hormone from the gold spots. So, he continued his work even when he joined Harvard University. He continued his work in the same laboratory of the Department of Agriculture, and he kept on working on that very hormone which he identified in the gold spots of that monarch pupa. Okay. So, using the laboratory's sophisticated instrument, he was able to identify the hormone's chemical structure. Now, what he did, he traced what is the structure of that hormone in that laboratory which was produced from those gold spots which were present on the pupa of monarch butterfly. A year and a half later, during his junior year, Albright got the idea for his new theory about cell life. Now, from here, when he was pursuing his research further in the laboratory of Department of Agriculture, he came up with this idea that about his new theory, that about how these cell they used to develop. Okay. It came while he was looking at X-ray photos of the chemical structure of a hormone. So, what he was actually, when this idea struck him, when he was looking at the X-ray image which he had taken of that particular chemical structure of the hormone. So, that is how that X-ray image clicked the idea that probably he came up with a theory that probably this hormone is responsible for the growth of the cell of life. When he saw those photos, Ebright didn't shout Eureka or even I have got it, but he believed that along with his findings about insect hormones, the photos gave him the answer to one of biology's puzzles. So, when he saw all those, when he was looking at those pictures, when that idea of coming up with that new theory struck him, he did not cry Eureka, Eureka as Archimedes he did that. This word was been just Archimedes was one of a very renowned scientist, and he, when he got the idea, he just came out of his bathtub shouting, running on the roads with shouting Eureka, Eureka, he found it like this. Okay. So, Ebright he shared that he did not shout Eureka like that, and he did not just announce anything to people that he have got an idea, but he had a strong belief on his idea that probably he had found the various answers of different biology puzzles which are being still being a matter of exploration amongst the big scientists of biology world. Okay. So, how the cells can read the blueprints of its DNA? This was the puzzle, that how the cells can read, how they identify, how they read the blueprints of its DNA. So, what is the connect that the DNA which is present in the nucleus is being identified by the cells, and accordingly the cells develop themselves. So, that puzzle was being probably been solved by Ebright through this hormone while he was working on that insect hormone. Okay. So, DNA is the substance in the nucleus of a cell that controls heredity. We all know it is deoxynucleo. So, DNA is the substance in the nucleus of a cell that controls heredity. So, basically DNA is the responsible factor which gives all the required information about the heredity of a particular cell, which has to be followed and transcripted by the cell when it is developed. Okay. So, it determines the form and function of the cell. So, basically what structure, what form that cell will take up is actually being taken from that DNA. Okay. Thus, DNA is the blueprint for life. So, basically the complete structure, the formation of the cell and what functions that cell will perform is being identified with the help of that DNA only. Okay. So, this was the basic idea which he procured, which he actually explored from his theory. Ebright and his colleague, Ebright and his college roommate James R. Wong worked all that night drawing pictures and constructing plastic models of molecules to show how it could happen. So, both these boys, his roommate James R. Wong, he was the person who contributed in this study with Ebright, and both these boys, they kept on working complete night on designing, on framing the model of that chemical structure. Okay. And together they later wrote the paper that explained the theory. So, finally they came out with the theory, and they both wrote a letter, an article which was been published. Surprising no one who knew him, Richard Ebright graduated from Harvard with highest honors, second in his class of 1510. So, in his class there were around 1510 students, and amongst all those students he was at the second position in his class when he graduated from his Harvard University. Ebright went on to become a graduate student researcher at Harvard Medical School. There he began doing experiments to test his theories. So, he took up the research work further in Harvard University and he enrolled himself as a graduate researcher at Harvard Medical School, and there he kept on further testing his theory of the that how cell used to develop with the by reading those DNAs. Okay. So, he kept working on his theory in Harvard Medical School. If the theory proves correct, it will be a big step towards understanding the processes of life. It might also lead to new ideas for preventing some types of cancer and other diseases. So, he kept working with this idea that probably his theory, if it was being proved correct, then what it will be? It will be a big step. It will prove to be a very highly accomplishing theory which will give an idea to the scientific world that how we can understand the processes of life. Okay. And also he was been feeling that probably his study would result in finding out new areas where new ideas can be developed for the cure of various diseases like cancer and other. All of this is possible because of Ebright's scientific curiosity. His high school research into the purpose of spots of a monarch pupa eventually led him to his theory about cell life. So, basically the ability of his curious personality, the way he used to explore nature, and he was being curious about knowing the various facts of science made him to move into the researching about various aspects, and finally those project of identifying the purpose for the spots which were present on the monarch's pupa eventually with over the time when he kept further researching about that aspect actually led him to his very prominent and important work of his, that is the theory about the cell life. Now, Richard Ebright has been interested in science since he first began collecting butterflies, but not so deeply that he hasn't time for other interests. So, here we have come to know that Ebright was not only interested in exploring and collecting butterflies when he was small, also he participated in various other activities with great determination. Ebright also became a champion debater and public speaker and a good canoeist and all around outdoor person. So, basically he was an all-rounder personality. He became a champion debater. So, he was a very good debater and he used to win prizes in debates. Also, he was a good public speaker and he used to took canoeing as a water sport, and he was very good at that, and also he used to participate in various outdoor other games also. He is also an expert photographer, particularly of nature and scientific exhibits. So, this is another area where he had an expertise. He used to click nice photographs of nature and scientific experiments and the displays. Okay. So, in high school, Richard Ebright was a straight A student. Straight A student means a very intelligent student who used to always get grade A marks, and he used to be a bright and intelligent student over there. Because learning was easy, he turned a lot of his energy towards the debating and Model United Nations Club. So, these were the two areas where Ebright he poured in a lot of energy, where he started debating. One, that was the one area where he found it to be very interesting, and the another area was he participated in the Model United Nations Club. He also found someone to admire, Richard A. Wheeler. He also found someone to admire, Richard A. Wheeler, his social studies teacher and advisor to both clubs. So, his social studies teacher, Mr. Richard, he was a great admirer of Ebright, where he has shared that Mr. Wheeler was the perfect person for me then. And since he was a great admirer of him, so he always used to motivate him. He opened my mind to new ideas. So, Ebright has given credit to his great motivator and admirer, his social studies teacher here. Richard would always say what has his social studies teacher, he has shared his that how he thought very high about Richard. Richard would always give that extra effort. Mr. Wheeler said, what pleased me was, here was this person who put in 3 or 4 hours at night doing debate research, besides doing all his research with butterflies and other interests. So, Mr. Wheeler found that he used to put extra efforts and lots of energy finding out, researching about those topics on which he used to debate. Okay, and that is what was the aspect which was being very much admired by his social studies teacher, and he found that apart from all his research activities which he was been taking and even some other more interests which he was been following, he used to put lots of research and extra hours of research during night hours for the debate topics. He has also shared that Richard was competitive. Mr. Wheeler continued, but not in a bad sense. So, he has shared that Richard was highly competitive, but with a very healthier spirit he used to be into competition. Richard was not interested in winning for winning's sake or winning to get a prize. So, whatever the prizes he used to win was not only for the sake of winning only, but the actual intention behind winning those prizes was that rather he was winning because he wanted to do the best job he could. For the right reasons he wanted to be the best. So, to prove himself, and rather he kept working to come out to be the best, to find out what the best he could explore, and that ability made him to win the prizes. So, that was the basic reason that he wanted to do the best job that is being possible for him, that made him to win the prizes. And that is one of the ingredients in making of a scientist. Now, this particular ability being the part of his personality, this trait of being very competitive was the key ingredient, the key aspect which made him to become a scientist. Start with the first rate mind, add curiosity and mix in the will to win for the right reasons. Now, this is how a making of the scientist has been explained here, that if you have a first rate mind, that means if you are an intelligent person, if you have a bright mind and you are curious about knowing the facts of nature and you want to explore. Now, if this particular personality trait is been mixed, is been made to come along with a will to win, that means a determination towards winning for the right reason, winning the competition with a purpose of doing the things to the best level. Now, Ebright, he had all these qualities, and since he possessed these qualities, he finally was being able to become one of the very renowned scientists. From the time the book The Travels of Monarch X opened the world of science to him, Richard Ebright has never lost his scientific curiosity. So, that book, that is The Travels of Monarch X, which was brought to him by his mother, and that actually made his mind to be to explore the new areas of science, and from there he actually gained his scientific curiosity, and that kept moving further and finally led towards making a great scientist. So, this was all about the chapter which was been written by Robert W. Peterson. Now, students, I hope you must have understood this chapter well. I would suggest all of you to please go through the video and do the PDF work. We will take up this chapter again in the live class. Thank you, students.